UFC 295. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Main event, Prochazka versus Alex Pereira for the vacant UFC light heavyweight championship. Really looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on the card. So make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. And also note, I will be live for the entire UFC 295 fight card Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Don't miss the fight, companion. And let's get into the fight. Starting the card off, we have Steve Erceg versus Alessandro Costa. I'm going to pick Steve Erceg to win here. I sat on this fight for a little while because Costa's really powerful and he's absolutely jacked, but I honestly think he's going to be at a striking speed disadvantage. He's also the shorter guy, though the reach is like somewhat similar with only 1.5 inches favoring Erceg. I do think Erceg is going to be better at striking from distance using straight shots, whereas Costa's going to look to throw more looping power strikes. Costa does have some nasty calf kicks, which I do think he's going to be looking to work on Erceg. Erceg, I also feel like can return the favor, ripping at the calf. I like Erceg's movement. I like his fight IQ. I like his well-roundedness. I think Costa and Erceg are both pretty good prospects. Both of these guys not even 30. But Erceg right now, I think, is more skilled. And he's coming off of a pretty huge win. Taking out David Dvorak, who's a legit top-tier guy in the top 15 of the flyweight division. Costa, on the other side, he ran over Jimmy Flick last time out. But let's be real here. Jimmy Flick retired a couple years ago. And I think at this point is not who he used to be. I don't think he's top caliber by any means. So Costa had a good performance there. But let's not be fooled to thinking that he's this unbreakable force. He got TKO'd by Amir Albazi the fight before. I think Erceg can win. I'm going with the Aussie. I think he's taken out Alessandro Costa. And I feel like the odds are pretty close. Minus 150 for Erceg to Costa at plus 130. I like Erceg as a close money favorite. He was actually a bigger favorite against Matt Schnell. He was minus 250 there because Costa's coming in on short notice as well. Costa's got the menacing physique. He's absolutely jacked. Erceg looks kind of nerd-like, but don't be deceived by the frame and the way that he looks. He's a bad man, and I think he's taken out Alessandro Costa. I feel like it's probably going to be a decision win for Erceg. It's going to be a hard fight, and putting away Costa's not going to be easy to do. Could he land the counterpunch? Maybe, but I think more so hard 3 rounds, favoring Erceg. He gets it done on the cards. Next fight of the night, we got Kyung Kang versus John Castañeda. I have to pick the side of John Castañeda to win in this matchup, and it's not like it's a huge skill gap between these two, but I do think Castañeda is the better wrestler and the better pressure fighter. Kang can stay on the outside and land some strikes. And if you look at the win over Christian Quiñones, he smoked him. And that was really impressive how he ripped some punches on the feet like that. The fight before that beat Batgorel Dana. And, you know, he can beat like okay guys. If you look, okay, the last 5, he's 4-1 in the last 5. Does have 2 splits against guys that are no longer with the company. And does have a loss to Hani Yaya. Yaya's kind of like a one-dimensional pressure grappling style. So I think Castañeda can put pressure on Kang, potentially take him down, beat him up from top position a bit. I do think there's striking moments for both in this fight. I feel like Castañeda can win. I think he's got more pit bull in him, more dog in him. I think he's going to bring the pressure, make this more of like a nasty and grueling fight, and not let Kang out kickbox him from the outside and keep it at a more calculated pace. If it's a calculated pace fight, that's where Kang has the upside. That's where it can be him outpointing. But Castañeda is not going to let that happen. He will turn it into more of a scrap with his pressure onslaught. I'm going Castañeda for the win. I'm going to say decision here. I'm going to say he gets it done on the cards. Could be 29-28. I don't think this is an easy fight. Castañeda is a minus 161 favorite with Kang at plus 141. I like Castañeda to win it, but I think that he is in for a game fight. against Kang, who's not an easy guy to put away. Castañeda could rip some big punches, but I think Kang is going to be hard to land hard, clean shots on. So it's going to be more pressure onslaught, dirty boxing, mixing and wrestling. Castañeda on the judges' scorecards. Next fight, we have ladies going after it in this matchup. It's Tabatha Ricci versus Lupita Godinez. Damn, this fight is a true prospect battle. They're putting together two of the brightest prospects in the women's strawweight division against each other right now. I'm going to pick Tabatha Ricci to get the win. For this reason, Lupita Godinez didn't look great against Cynthia Calvillo. I feel like Ricci, having very good jiu-jitsu, having good MMA wrestling in her own right, and also being an athletic striker is going to be more difficult for Lupita Godinez to deal with. She's not an Elise Reed. She's not an Emily Ducote. She's not a Cynthia Calvillo. Ricci's a lot more athletic than that, and her striking game is clearly better. I think Ricci has a bit of the speed advantage in the striking, though Lupi can definitely box. Lupi more of the wrestling onslaught attack. I feel like Ricci can potentially counter those clinch positions and even get on top of Lupita Godinez. It's a damn close fight. I see it being competitive. You look at Ricci last time out, put it on Jillian Robertson, submitted Jéssica Penne, Poliana Viana win, which is kind of a weird one, Mariah Oliveira win, which, this is some years back now. It's 2 years back. And then she lost to Manon Fiorot in the debut upper weight class, and Fiorot is an absolute problem as far as contendership at women's flyweight. And Ricci showed she's tough as hell. Lupi ain't going to knock her out. Lupi ain't going to submit her. So it's going to be a hard 3 rounds. And I think Ricci would be more likely to get a submission finish, but I don't think that happens either. I think we got 3 competitive rounds where Ricci does win. I think she'll be able to stop the wrestling of Lupi, threaten with her own grappling positions, and I think she's got the speed advantage striking. She's got like a nice bounce to her stand-up game. I'm going Ricci for the W. I think she beats Lupita Godinez in the battle of prospects at women's strawweight. Odds for the fight, Ricci is an underdog. She's a plus 130 dog. Lupita Godinez at minus 150. I got to go Tabatha Ricci. At the end of the day, Ricci hasn't lost to anybody she was necessarily supposed to beat. Like Lupi lost to debut to Jéssica Penne. Recent loss, you can see to Angela Hill. And then now I got to dig into the record because the name of the other opponent is not coming to me. Luana Carolina lost, but granted, short notice fight, upper weight class there. Still, Ricci hasn't lost to anybody she was really supposed to beat. She's beaten everybody that put in front of her that she's supposed to beat. This one here is a matchup where she's an underdog, so I guess technically speaking, she's not supposed to win, but I think it's very winnable. I'm going Tabatha Ricci, underdog in this fight. I think she gets a hard-fought decision and a good lady scrap. These two are both going to want it bad because they're on their way to contendership heading into 2024. Next fight of the night, it's Nazim Sadykhov versus Vyacheslav Borshchev. I'm picking Vyacheslav Borshchev to win, and I think that might surprise some people because Nazim Sadykhov was able to submit Terrence McKinney in his last fight, but he grabbed the cage. Like, it was like, you go back and rewatch, it was like a blatant cage grab that did create the end sequence of the fight. And Sadykhov was getting dominated in the first round. And also, you dig back to the fight before, he's getting touched up by Evan Elder. He got put down by Elder. I think Vyacheslav Borshchev can outbox Nazim Sadykhov, can stop the takedowns. Borshchev lost to Mark Jacasey, who brought the wrestling pressure to him. Jacasey, he's pretty good at that, and he's just strong as fuck, too, and can keep that pace. You saw him do it against Kaue Fernandez this past weekend. After that, he lost to Mike Davis, who's really good. And then most recently, he knocked out Mahashate, who's also an entertaining striker. Sadykhov has a good MMA game, but he likes striking. And I think he's going to have a hard time dominating Borshchev in the grappling. He's training at Team Alpha Male. We have to consider that Borshchev is consistently getting better at takedown defense and also his get-ups. And as you see him developing, he's going to be able to hold that takedown defense into the later rounds. I think his defense is going to be a key to victory here. And in the striking, I favor Borshchev. I think his jab is on point. I think his body punches are on point. I think he has more punching power. On the opposite side, Sadykhov brings like a sniper stand-up style, and he does like to fight out of the southpaw stance, and he has that lead hand from distance far out. I think that Borshchev is going to be able to find punches on him. I think with the orthodox versus southpaw, it will be interesting, the battle of the lead hands. I still think Borshchev can get jabs through. I definitely think he can get straight, but I think body punches are going to be a big key to victory. Borshchev is going to be ripping low, and I do think he's going to put Sadykhov out. I'm going Borshchev, KO win. Slava Claus for the W. He's molding into the prospect that we thought he could potentially be after a couple of L's, and I think he's going to look better than ever here in this fight. I'm picking Borshchev for the win to take out Nazim Sadykhov, knockout. Sadykhov is a slight favorite, minus 125, so we got pretty close lines here. Sadykhov opened at minus 350. That's crazy to me. Borshchev plus 105. It's not like Nazim Sadykhov is Mr. USA Wrestling, just grinding everybody out. He likes to strike. He has some grappling. He submitted McKinney, but it doesn't mean he's going to do that to Borshchev here. Borshchev can strike for the whole fight, and if he can stop takedowns and clinch attacks for the most part, I think he's piecing Sadykhov up, beating him up, and knocking him out. Plus 105, I'm going underdog. I'm going Vyacheslav Borshchev for a KO in this fight. I think he's putting Sadykhov out in New York, man. He's taking out New York's own Sadykhov in NY. Next fight on the card, we got Denis Buzukja versus Jamall Emmers. I feel like Jamall Emmers' length is going to be a big factor here. I feel like on the outside, he's going to be able to touch up Buzukja, who's going to look to pressure him backwards, but you're going to notice Emmers going to have nice movement laterally, especially towards the cage. I don't think Buzukja brings in enough of a wrestling threat here for Jamall Emmers. I feel like Emmers getting it done on the judges' scorecards. I feel like it's going to be 3 rounds of work, competitive at moments. I think Buzukja is going to try to explode on him at times and throw hard shots, especially when he gets Emmers near the cage. But I think Emmers is going to be a little bit too slippery and slick. He's going to be able to avoid a lot of the attacks and probably jab up Buzukja a bit, mix in the low kick game. I feel like both guys are decent, but Emmers is more athletic. Now, granted, 34 versus 26, right? So Emmers got the age advantage on him. So technically speaking, percentage-wise, the younger fighter does win more often. But let's not just use the percentages here. How does the matchup look? I think Emmers has the distance striking advantage. I also think that he's going to have the gas tank to go long. Buzukja last time lost to Sean Woodson. Ballsy fight, though. He brought the fire, and like he was trying to throw hard, but he was just getting ripped up. Emmers, little maybe less powerful and kind of less awkward too than Sean Woodson, but still's got that length advantage, which I think is going to be a big factor. And I'm not sold on Buzukja's takedowns and his jiu-jitsu game. I don't see him subbing Jamall Emmers. He's not going to do him like Pat Sabatini. Emmers makes this a hard 3 rounds, and I think he wins it on the judges' scorecards. I'm going to go Emmers to get it done. Emmers to win. He's very on-off. He's very win-loss. So if you look at his last 5, he's due for a win in this fight here after, the win-loss streak is consistently going for him. And if you look at that 5th fight back, Giga Chikadze split decision. Emmers can strike. I think he's going to beat Buzukja. He outstrikes him, and he wins this fight on the judges' scorecards. Emmers for the W, lines looking like minus 300. Damn, Emmers is a really wide favorite. Buzukja plus 250. I think Emmers is a little bit too wide of a favorite at minus 300, but he has fought way better opposition than Buzukja. And you could argue that Jamall Emmers is a step up in competition from Sean Woodson on the, Buzukja side, his most recent opponent. Yeah, I'm going to go Jamall Emmers for the decision win. He's taking out Mr. New York, another NY guy going down. I'm picking Jamall Emmers for the W in this fight. I'm going to take him on the scorecards. Decision win for Emmers. Next fight on the card, we have Jared Gordon versus Mark Madsen. I'm picking Jared Gordon in this fight. He's the better fighter. Mark Madsen is an Olympic silver medalist in Greco-Roman wrestling. The one issue that I have with his Greco-Roman wrestling attack that I think has limited his MMA game offensively. Now, I know he's got a 12-1 record, but I'm talking about getting to the real upper echelon of the weight class. I mean, besides the fact he's 39 and he got into MMA late, it's also the fact that he's not blasting double legs. He's not a freestyle wrestler. So the clinch work is essential for him to get these guys down. Jared Gordon is strong in the clinch. He's a good clinch fighter. He has a good wrestling background in his own right, not Olympic, but it's MMA. And he also has pretty good punch combinations. Jared Gordon, he has underrated boxing because of the fact that he's not scoring knockouts often. I think he's going to end up winning a decision against Mark Madsen. I don't think he's getting some emphatic KO in this one. I see it as a competitive fight where Madsen's going to look to bring a lot of pressure. Gordon will look to separate and land multi-shot combinations. I think Madsen's toughness keeps him in it, and also due to the fact, on the opposite side with Gordon, I feel like it'd be hard for him to submit Mark Madsen. You look at Madsen's last fight, Grant Dawson strangled him, but that's a nightmare stylistic matchup. Before that, beat Vince Pichel in a competitive one. Clay Guida split decision. For Jared Gordon, he's coming off of the no contest where he was headbutted against Bobby Green. But if you think about that fight in actuality, he was looking pretty good on the feet. He was finding Bobby Green, and Bobby Green just laid out Grant Dawson in one punch and is now fighting Dan Hooker. Beat Paddy Pimblett. Well, technically lost to Paddy Pimblett, but probably should have got the decision. And then Leonardo Santos, Grant Dawson strangled him. There's no shame. Beat Joe Selecki, who's a tough customer, I would say. Good grappler. I'm picking Jared Gordon to outwork Mark Madsen. It's going to be a hard fight, but Gordon's got the boxing advantage. Madsen's crazy fitness and wrestling background will keep him in it, but we're not getting a win out of him. Jared Gordon, the better fighter, beats Mark Madsen in this fight. The odds for it, though. Madsen is a plus 155 dog. Jared Gordon, a minus 180 favorite. I'm going with the side of the favorite. I'm going with the side of Jared Gordon. I think he wins a hard 3 rounds. I'd love to say he'd get a knockout. It's not crazy to think that Madsen is forced into boxing with him and Jared Gordon could put the punches together, but he doesn't do it. He's not shown me the evidence of getting the KOs in the UFC. On the street, he's laying people out. But in the UFC, we haven't seen it. So I'm going to say Jared Gordon could get the knockout, but I'm going to predict decision officially. But I want to see violence here. I'm hoping that we get a KO, but really, I think it's going to go distance. Next fight on the card, it brings us to our featured prelim of the night. It's Joshua Van versus Kevin Borjas. This is a really weird card placement. I think that the official lineup as we get closer to the fights will shift a bit because I don't see this as a featured prelim. Nonetheless, who am I picking? I'm going with Borjas. I have to ride with his side. He won as an underdog on Contender Series. I picked him in that fight over Diaz. He won as a dog. I have to have faith in him moving forward into the UFC, especially first fight coming in. He's a dog against a 22-year-old Joshua Van who inched past Zhalgas Zhumagulov, and Zhumagulov's now released from the UFC. Joshua Van, I wasn't over impressed with heading into the Zhumagulov fight. I picked against him, actually. I thought that Zhumagulov would get him on the cards. Did not happen. I think Borjas has a better kickboxing game from distance. I think that Van is pretty good with his hands, especially in the closer range. He's going to be at a disadvantage of reach, so he's going to have to get close to him. Comes from Myanmar, which is the home of Lethwei. So, there's badass blood in his people. I got respect for him. But we got a Peruvian savage, too, in Kevin Borjas, who just won a hard fight as a big dog. I feel like Borjas can catch him with a hook. I'm seeing that potentially. I think body kicks will be a factor. I don't think Van is going to be able to consistently take Borjas down. And in the striking, I really think Borjas can showcase a lot here. I got to ride with him to get it done. It's not an easy fight by any means. This is a hard one for, the pick. For both guys, though, this is a really hard fight because we have, unknowns at the higher tier. We're putting 2 prospects against one another right out the gate, very early in the UFC careers. I'm going to say Borjas moves forward. I think he's a bit better, but Van is still pretty solid. I can't shit on Joshua Van's game. There's nothing bad to say about him at 22. He's got a lot of potential. He's young. Borjas and him both aren't ready for the upper echelons of flyweight. I'll tell you guys that right out the gate. But doesn't matter. They're fighting each other. I'm going Borjas for a hard-fought decision. I say he gets it. It could be a split decision here. It's going to be a competitive fight. Borjas outworks him by a tad and ends up getting a win. And he's also a plus 190 dog, which makes no sense to me. I think this is a pick'em's fight. I think this is minus 115 on both sides. That's in my head how I'm seeing it. Van, a minus 225 favorite, is weird. Borjas, a plus 190 dog. I'm going with the underdog. It's not an easy fight. He's going to have to bring fire, but I think he will. He's proven he has that type of heart. And I'm going to say Borjas gets a competitive decision over Joshua Van. but I'm hoping for a knockout. I won't lie to you. I'm hoping that we cap off the prelims with a flatline KO for Borjas. I like the money line side of the dog. If you're looking for the betting side and you're looking to attack an underdog, I think Borjas is live, but let's note something. He's not a proven in the UFC underdog. He's a proven on Contender Series dog, but not UFC, and that's a factor. And he's fighting Van, who can strike. Very different style than Diaz we fought last time. Nonetheless, picking Borjas to win. Let's jump to the main card. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. We got Matt Frevola versus Benoit Saint Denis. I'm picking Matt Frevola. I think that he can KO Benoit Saint Denis. Look at Saint Denis versus Thiago Moises. He's bringing pressure. He brings great wrestling. Absolutely. But if you look, he got caught a bit by punches over the top, and Frevola is a guy that sits on his shots and throws bombs. He's also a little bit awkward with his striking, which I think is going to lead to more success here against Benoit Saint Denis. Orthodox versus Southpaw. When they're in the stand-up, Frevola getting the KO is what I see. Now, the wrestling of Benoit Saint Denis is very good. He has a good pressure onslaught. He stays on top of his opponents well. But on the other side, Frevola has good scrambles and get-ups, and he doesn't have bad takedown defense either. I feel as though Frevola on the feet has a clear advantage. Benoit's a little stiff, and his head is on that center line. And when he comes in, there's not head movement. Frevola, who sits on all his shots, is going to chin him. Flatline KO. I'm going Frevola for the win. Knockout win. He just knocked out Drew Dober last time out, and I think that's a huge W to have. Fight before that, he laid out Automana Zaitar, and then before that, beat Gennaro Valdez by KO. Now, those two, I guess this one here he was supposed to win, but these two he was a dog in. Frevola's Mr. Underdog. And Benoit Saint Denis, though he's proven good wrestling attack, Thiago Moises is mostly a grappler, the guy he beat last time out, and didn't have the courage on the feet to sit on his shots and really make Benoit Saint Denis pay. Frevola's the complete opposite. He's going to throw hammers at your face. And I don't think Benoit Saint Denis standing up to him. He's going to get knocked out. And people will say, bro, but he went distant with Eliseo Zaleski, upper weight class, who's a good striker. Okay, fair. But let's talk about this. Any other referee would have stopped that fight. It's just that ref just let Benoit Saint Denis take the ass whooping of a lifetime. And I think that doesn't mean he can't get knocked out by Matt Frevola. I'm going Frevola, the steamroller, to steamroll the God of War. Frevola knockout. Frevola for the win. Looking at the lines, he's a plus 170 underdog. I love him as a dog here. Benoit Saint Denis, a minus 200 favorite. I'm going Frevola, win by knockout, underdog to open up the main card. I'm riding with the steamroller, guys. I'm going Frevola by KO. He's going to snap the 4-fight win streak of Benoit Saint Denis and get himself a 4-fight win streak going, and probably a ranked opponent next. Frevola for the W, guys. And you know what? Let's not forget, Frevola also fought Arman Tsarukyan. He gave him trouble early on. Yeah, Tsarukyan had the wrestling success later, but he also took that fight on short notice. Frevola's a pit bull, guys, and I think he's sleeping Benoit Saint Denis. Knockout win, Matt Frevola in this spot, and I'm damn excited for the main card opener. Next fight on the card, it's Pat Sabatini versus Diego Lopes. I'm picking Pat Sabatini to win because he's more of a top pressure grappler, and Diego Lopes is a fighter that's very comfortable from the bottom. Now, he throws up nice attacks. He'll shoot for legs very nicely, but Sabatini is also 5'8" and short and stocky. He's jacked. He's one of those builds that it's hard to get control of a limb on. And I don't think Diego Lopes is all that good in the stand-up. Not that Pat Sabatini is Mike Tyson Jr. either. By no means am I saying that. But I feel as though Lopes is going to be on his back a lot of the fight, not going to have a significant threat in the striking. So the jiu-jitsu from the bottom to submit somebody who's as good at grappling as Pat Sabatini is, I don't see it. I think the way you beat Pat Sabatini, you either got to be better at the offensive wrestling and able to get on top of him and stop his takedown onslaught, or you better be able to crack on the feet. Diego Lopes has got really good jiu-jitsu and is creative with his attacks, but it's going to be hard to tap out Sabatini. I don't see Sabatini getting caught in a leg lock in the first 2 minutes of the fight. You look at Diego Lopes, last fight, triangle armbar, beat Gavin Tucker. I don't see him doing that to Pat Sabatini at all. fight before that, he gave Movsar Evloev hell on very short notice. Different style than Pat Sabatini, and it was short notice too for Movsar taking on a tricky matchup against a guy who's relatively unknown there. Sabatini last time out, quick, I guess not super quick, but dominant win and a submission over Diego Lopes. Got knocked out quickly by Damon Jackson in a weird fight. And then TJ Laramie win by decision, Tucker Lutz decision, and he leg locked, or heel hooked, I should say, Jamall Emmers. I think Pat Sabatini is winning a hard-fought decision because he ends up on top in a lot of this fight. It's not that it's like him beating the shit out of Diego Lopes from top, but getting the top position is going to secure the win of the rounds. I'm going Sabatini for the W, guys. Lines for the fight, Sabatini is a slight favorite at -138. Diego Lopes a +118 underdog. I'm going with Pat Sabatini to win. Decision win for Sabatini. He beats Lopes. What's this over 2.5 at? Over 2.5 is +175. That doesn't make sense to me. I definitely see this going long. I don't see Sabatini getting tapped by Lopes. And I don't see Lopes getting tapped by Sabatini. And I highly doubt these guys are knocking each other out on the feet. Decision win. Pat Sabatini. Next fight is our featured bout of the night. It's Jéssica Andrade versus Mackenzie Dern. I'm picking Mackenzie Dern to win because I think Jéssica Andrade has like almost given up on herself. It started with the Erin Blanchfield loss. It's like, okay, she took that fight on real short notice. She gave it hell, but she got subbed up and it didn't look like the same version of Jéssica Andrade. But we're like, all right, she's going to drop back down to 115. It's going to be all right. Then she fights Yan Xiaonan and just throws herself into a counterpunch by just recklessly swinging on the feet because she was frustrated that she wasn't having a lot of success, and she gets knocked out, which was kind of crazy because like seeing Andrade get beat like that was wild. Seeing her get laid out like that. And then the fight after that, Tatiana Suarez, who's an amazing grappler, runs her over and submits her. Mackenzie Dern is a very good grappler with improved stand-up, but ultimately where they are in their careers, I feel as though Jéssica Andrade does not have that same fire that she once had, which made her so terrifying. I think Mackenzie Dern wants it more than Jéssica Andrade. I think she's going to be able to out-grapple her. She'll stay safe on the feet, and I do think that Andrade is going to mentally have another lapse and lose. I'm going Mackenzie Dern to get the finish. She gets the submission, and I think it's going to be a rear naked choke. Looking at the lines for it. Andrade is an underdog, +152. Dern the favorite, -177. If Jéssica Andrade is back to her old ways, we have primed mental state, Jéssica Andrade, her hooks are terrifying, and she would be live to potentially knock out Mackenzie Dern. But I just feel as though Andrade doesn't have it anymore. It seems like she's had a full mental lapse and has lost the faith in her skill set, and I think the hunger to be the world champion is gone now. Because of this losing streak, I think she's collecting a nice check here against Mackenzie Dern. I think she's going to swing hard early, not going to go her way. She's going to get her back taken, and she's going to get choked out. Mackenzie Dern, rear naked choke, submission win for her. She beats Jéssica Andrade, and now she's climbing way up the ranks. Last time beat up Angela Hill, who just got a win last weekend against Denise Gomes. Close decision with Yan Xiaonan. Tisha Torres, close win there. And then Marina Rodriguez beat her up. I still think Dern's developing, and I think this could be the best version of her ever now at 30 years old, and I think she's beaten Jéssica Andrade by submission here. Let's jump to the co-main event of the evening. It's Sergei Pavlovich versus Tom Aspinall. I'm picking Sergei Pavlovich to win. I think Pavlovich is going to knock Tom Aspinall out. He has a reach advantage of how much? 6 inches. This is a historic reach. 6'3" with an 84-inch reach. He nearly has the wingspan of John Jones and Stefan Struve. And, he's an inch shorter than John Jones. Pavlovich is a good boxer from the outside. I actually think good might be an understatement. Good or terrifying. Maybe terrifying is a better word. He's a monster in the boxing range. And I know we look at Tom Aspinall's striking and we're sold that he has amazing stand-up. But look at the Tibura fight with the way he's running in with the chin up high in the air. You can't do that to Sergei Pavlovich or you're going to wake up under the bright lights. And that's what I anticipate happens here. I think Pavlovich with the hands is going to be the ultimate difference maker. And I think he's knocking out Tom Aspinall. Aspinall, I believe, is going to get stung up a bit on the feet, and then he's going to look to engage in the grappling. And that is where he's going to be met with strong resistance because Sergei Pavlovich, let's not forget, is an Eagles MMA fighter. He has a wrestling base. He can defensively wrestle. And I think people want to live by his first fight in the UFC against Alistair Overeem and say that's his level on the ground. It's not. He stopped Curtis Blades' takedowns and knocked him out. Sergei Pavlovich is a menace. And Aspinall also taking this fight on short notice. Pavlovich was the backup for the John Jones versus Stipe Miocic fight. Let's not forget that either. The interim belt is on the line. We got 5 rounds to work. I think Pavlovich is getting it done in the first round. I could see it enter the second, but I think Pavlovich's handiwork is going to be on display in round 1, and I think he's putting Tom Aspinall out. I'm going Pavlovich, knockout, interim champion, and I think a terrifying challenge to either Stipe Miocic or John Jones later in 2024 if they decide not to retire and just give the belt to Sergei Pavlovich. -110, Pavlovich, -110, Aspinall. The under 1.5 is -240. I do think we go under. Actually, Pavlovich just flipped to an ever so slight dog at -105. Lines around even money, though. Right now, Pavlovich looking at -105 to Aspinall at -115 with a live switch up of the lines. Pavlovich is an absolute monster. I love his game. I think his boxing is terrifying, and I think he has a huge advantage with the hands over Tom Aspinall, and he's going to stop the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu. Curtis Blades KO, Tai Tuivasa KO, Derek Lewis KO, Shamil Abderrahimov KO, Maurice Green KO. Now we're looking back a while. But these 3, ultra impressive. Aspinall, win over Marcin Tybura last time out. Tybura is a back-end ranked heavyweight. This was a comeback fight after his loss to Curtis Blades, which is an injury loss. So it's not like he went out there and got fucked up. But he did destroy his knee in that fight. Before that, his submission over Alexander Volkov was extremely impressive. I'm going to give credit where it's due. But Volkov is not Sergei Pavlovich. There's levels to the game. Beat Sergei Spivak with ease in the striking. Spivak also got crushed by Gane in the stand-up. And if you look at it, Spivak is a one-dimensional grappler. And then Andrei Arlovsky win by sub, but he was touched a bit in the boxing. And Pavlovich is not just going to touch him. He's going to shut his lights off. Pavlovich, knockout win, the new interim champ, and I think the scariest heavyweight in the UFC. And I can't wait for him potentially challenging John Jones. Now, it could be Stipe, but probably John Jones. That would be a hell of a fight for Jones to have as another defense if he gets past Stipe to close out 2024 and potentially close out his career. Battle of new blood versus the OG. Yeah, I'd love to see it. Pavlovich, knockout, the interim champion, and a terrifying heavyweight. I love it. I love Pavlovich's game. Main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. It's Jiří Prochazka versus Alex Pereira. I'm picking Alex Pereira to win. There's a few reasons for it. One of which is an obvious one. Prochazka's shoulder was destroyed after his last fight with Glover Teixeira, which kept him out for a while and, was the reason that he vacated the belt. It still looks slightly different in pictures. And they're saying it's the worst shoulder injury ever. So does he come back less than? Potentially. Second factor, a little ring rust. And then the pure fact that Alex Pereira is a kickboxing 2-weight glory champion and the former middleweight champion of the UFC, filling out at light heavyweight. The guy's striking is menacing. Now, obviously, Jan Blachowicz and him was a toss-up fight at the end, but Jan was just trying to hold him. Sure, Jan had a couple moments in the stand-up, but also Jan was fighting very conservatively, not to lose. Whereas Jiří Prochazka is a guy that shoots for the kill. He's going to bring pressure, he's going to attack, and he's going to look to kill Alex Pereira. And I think Alex Pereira is going to catch him in the second round with a counter hook and flatline Jiří Prochazka. And what's going to be one of the most violent fights of all time between two of the scariest characters in UFC history. I got Prochazka, the samurai, versus the native warrior and Alex Pereira. You can't talk about a better dream matchup for fight fans. I love this fight. You know what? It's disappointing that we lost Jones versus Stipe. Absolutely. But I'm happy we got the Aspinall Pavlovich fight. But this main event at the top is so sweet. I think this is going to be a crazy fight that crowns the light heavyweight champ. I think Alex Pereira is winning by knockout. I think his durability is going to be crazy here at light heavyweight with now even more time to fill into this frame. 6 months ago was the Adesanya fight, right? And then nearly 3 months ago was the Blachowicz fight. So that was his first jump up to light heavyweight. Now he's had more time without having to do that strenuous weight cut down to 185. He's probably filled out even more so in this light heavyweight frame. I think he's going to deliver more power. I think his grappling defense is going to be even better. And let's not forget, Prochazka wasn't looking great against Alex Pereira's coach and mentor, Glover Teixeira, in their fight, which Jiří Prochazka ended up winning by a late rear naked choke comeback, which he was losing. Pereira getting revenge for his coach. And I think stylistically, it's a matchup that plays into Pereira's favor. I expect Prochazka to bring fire to him, and we're going to get crazy moments out of both of them. But I got to go with the more technically clean stand-up over the ferocious warrior on the side of Prochazka, but a bit more reckless. And that warrior style, I think, can get him into big trouble. Pereira will be a bit more calculated and poised and find the kill shot. I'm going Alex Pereira, second round knockout over Jiří Prochazka, and he becomes a two-weight UFC champion. Odds for the fight, Prochazka is a slight underdog at plus 110, essentially even here. Alex Pereira minus 130 as an ever so slight favorite. I'm going Poatan for the win. I think that he sleeps him. I think we got an epic main event. UFC 295 is going to be absolutely crazy, and I cannot wait to see this fight, guys. Holy hell. I can't wait to talk more about it throughout the week. So, keep your eyes peeled on the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown of this UFC 295 card because it's absolutely stacked. Tune into that live stream Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. I got content dropping every day of the week. So if you don't have the post notifications turned on, turn them on. Don't just leave them on personalized. Put them on all so you don't miss a video. Daily content coming that you don't want to miss. If you're new here and you like what you're hearing, subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button and let me know what you thought of the picks in the comments down below. I definitely want to hear what you guys are thinking, especially about the main and co-main event. Do you guys agree with my takes? Do you see Pavlovich and Pereira getting it done? Or are you on the opposite sides? I want to know. If you have nothing to say in those comments, but you just enjoy the content, as always, drop a W in the chat to boost the algorithm for your boy. Much love, my people, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace, everybody.